Chapter 73 Blue Nose's Sorrow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After some treatment, Nami woke up from a daze, and the original scenes flashed through her mind. The strong man carried him all the way down the mountain. Nami still remembered how strong the wind was. Even though Nami was wearing very thick clothes, she still felt the cold in a daze. From here to there, Luffy and Lin Hai must have suffered a lot, right? But when Nami thought of Lin Hai's unremarkable virtues and his habit of hugging girls' waists, Nami couldn't help but let out a poof. At this moment, Kaleha entered the room and saw that Nami had woken up. She couldn't help but said, "You are awake. If I guess correctly, you have been infected with this virus for 2 days, right?" "Ah." Nami nodded, "Yes. Thank you for saving me." Kaleha waved her hand and said, "You don't have to thank me. I want to repay you for saving you. By the way, how did you get the virus? This virus only appears in the primitive jungle, and your wound is on your belly. Could it be that you were wearing midriff-bearing clothes in the jungle? That shouldn't be possible. Who would be so boring?" Upon hearing this, Nami interrupted in embarrassment, "Doctor, where are the 2 people who sent me here now? Are they okay?" When mentioning those 2 guys, Kaleha exclaimed, "Those 2 guys are really energetic. They have climbed to an altitude of more than 4,000 meters, and they are not going to rest yet. They are playing with my chopper." "Chopper?" Nami asked. Kaleha explained, "A man named Lin Hai handed you over to him at the beginning. He is also a doctor. Now your 2 companions are clamoring for Chopper to be their partner." Nami asked curiously, "Did Chopper agree?" Kaleha shook her head and said, "It's not that easy. Chopper has a heart disease that I haven't cured for so many years." Nami said, "Can you tell me about him?" Kaleha explained, "When Chopper was born, his nose was blue." Nami interrupted, "Blue nose?" Kaleha nodded and said, "Chopper is a reindeer. Because his nose is blue, he was regarded as a monster by the deer. Until one day, he accidentally ate the renren fruit. Chopper could walk on both feet. From then on, he was abandoned by the deer." Kaleha sighed and continued, "It doesn't matter. What hurt him the most was the doctor who adopted him, Cyrillic. Cyrillic walked into Chopper's heart and illuminated his life. It's a pity that Cyrillic later died from the poison Chopper gave him. From then on, Chopper's originally open heart to humans was once again closed." At this moment, Chopper, who heard Kaleha's story at the door, couldn't help but recall his past. Cyrillic originally had 10 days to live, but after taking the medicine he gave him, he was left with only half a day of life. Because of this incident, Chopper always thought that he was the one who killed his savior. "Whoa, Dr. Cyrillic!" The cry at the door interrupted Kaleha and Nami who were chatting. Seeing Chopper crying, Kaleha couldn't help but said angrily, "Cyrillic didn't blame you for that incident, so why are you crying?" Chopper replied, "Dr. Kaleha, I. At this time, Nami said softly, "You are Dr. Chopper, right? Dr. Chopper?" Chopper was stunned for a moment, pointed at himself and said, "Me, are you talking about me?" Nami nodded and said, "Yes, thank you for saving me." "Asshole." Chopper said coyly, "Even if you say that to me, I won't be happy." Nami was speechless secretly. "Aren't you very happy?" After reacting, Chopper quickly hid, and then secretly looked at Nami, only to scare himself and run outside. Kaleha slapped her forehead. "Have you seen this situation now? Chopper is very repulsive to strangers." Chopper ran outside and ran into Lin Hai and Luffy. Lin Hai said speechlessly, "Xiaoba, stop running away. Why do I feel that you are not a reindeer? I should call you a mouse." Chopper, who was about to run away, stopped, turned around and said, "What did you say?" Lin Hai spread his hands and explained, "When you see people, you are like a mouse meeting a cat. Are you too timid?" Chopper said angrily, "I'm not a mouse, I'm a reindeer." Before he finished speaking, Chopper was caught by Luffy. Luffy's eyes suddenly lit up and said, "Lin Hai, I caught him." Indeed, Chopper had not been in contact with anyone for so long that he was unable to communicate. At this time, he could only use violent means to force communication with Chopper. At this time, Lin Hai made a bad expression on his face and said, "You run, keep running, you bastard reindeer, you are making us hard to find, and we are exhausted." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Hai lay down to sleep, using Chopper as a pillow. At this time, Chopper was surprised and happy inside. He was surprised that he met a stranger, but he was happy that he could have such close contact with humans. As for how to communicate with Chopper, he still left it to Luffy. Lin Hai didn't think he would have the pure intention to communicate with Chopper. When Chopper saw that he was being pressed, he immediately said in horror, "Let me go quickly, ho ho." Luffy said helplessly, "Chopper, will you be my partner?" Chopper replied, "How can this be allowed?" Luffy asked confused, "Why?" Chopper replied as he should, "Because you are humans and I am a reindeer, how can we be partners?" Luffy said, "Don't be wordy, come to the sea with me. Adventures are very interesting. There are many interesting things in the blue sea." Chopper said tangledly, but. Lin Hai said speechlessly, "Are you still a man? It's your mother-in-law's fault." Chopper exclaimed, "Didn't you go to bed?" Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, "Sleep, it's so cold, do you want to freeze me to death? By the way, why don't you go to the sea with us?" Chopper then began to express his worries, "Don't you find it strange? I have a blue nose and antlers. I am obviously a reindeer, but I walk on 2 feet. Moreover, I can also speak human language. You guys, don't you think I'm a monster?" Lin Hai put his hand on Chopper's shoulder and said amusedly, "That's it. Don't you know that there are fur tribes in the sea, that is, animals that can talk, and they are not friends of humans? Also, in Fishman Island, there are mermaids. Their upper bodies are human bodies, but their lower bodies are still fish." I said to Chopper, "These things you are worried about are all caused by your own narrow knowledge and knowledge. A real man should go to the sea and flirt with him." CKE, is it true? Lin Hai could not help but twitch when he saw Luffy and Chopper looking at him with bright eyes. What's going on with this smelly straw hat? Didn't he call Chopper to his ship? What do you admire now? Can you be more professional? Moo-ha-ha. At this moment, Valbo's voice sounded not far away, and everyone's attention couldn't help but be attracted. Chapter 74. What are you waiting for? Going to sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moo-ha-ha. Valpo said while sitting on the Mauha horse, "The straw hat bastard and that annoying guy, you just dared to sneak away while I was asleep, now you are obedient, accept the verdict, moo-ha." Ignoring Valpo's words, Lin Hai turned to ask Luffy, "That guy's mount seems to be quite meaty. How about we have a barbecue later?" "Barbecue?" Luffy drooled instantly, and immediately nodded, "Okay, the barbecue you make is the best." Lin Hai quickly stepped aside and exclaimed, "Can you stop being so disgusting and stop your saliva?" After saying that, Lin Hai took out the cane sugar and sprinkled it on the snow, then threw one Luffy and Chopper respectively. Chopper looked at the snowball in his hand confusedly. What was he doing? Luffy smiled and said, "Chopper, this snowball is delicious. Eat it quickly." Chopper licked it blankly and exclaimed, "It's delicious. It's sweet." The hairy hippo not far away was a little confused. "Is it raining? Isn't it snowing? Why is there water?" Oh, it turned out to be Valpo who was drooling while watching. However, after being reminded by the 2 thugs beside Valpo, Valpo immediately reacted and said angrily, "How dare you bastards ignore me?" After speaking, Valpo turned to his men and ordered, "There are 2 more laws in this country. Anyone who eats without sharing with the king will be criminalized. Anyone who does not listen to the king will also be criminalized." Chopper reacted and said angrily, "What do you bastards want to do when you come back?" Lin Hai stepped forward to stop Chopper, and then said to Valpo, "Valpo, listen up, we are pirates, hand over your mount obediently and let us cook barbecue, otherwise, I will call Luffy and Xiao, I'll beat you all away." Moo-ha. Valpo said with a smile, "You are such a reckless brat, and you are so courageous. Mollymon and Jace, come here and kill them." After receiving the order, Valpo's two capable men, Merimon and Jace, took action immediately. This situation should be left to Luffy to handle. If Lin Hai comes, he will not be able to achieve the purpose of fighting with Chopper. After all, if you want Chopper to be your crew member, you should get to know him first, right? It was expected to be wonderful, but the reality is, Luffy was seen half-crouching with one hand on the ground, second gear. Jet pistol. Valpo felt as if two things were flying by the corner of his eyes. Valpo reacted and said quickly, Molly-mon, Jace, where did you die? Luffy smiled brightly and replied, they were knocked away by me just now. Xiaoba's eyes shone brightly and he said, Silk Cake 1, because everything happened so fast, Valpo didn't react at all, so he didn't believe it. Stop talking nonsense, straw hat bastard, what on earth did you do to them? Lin Hai slapped his forehead with one hand, hey, let's fight side by side, now. But Lin Hai noticed the flag on the top of the castle and suddenly had an idea. Lin Hai stepped forward and said, have you seen that flag? Valpo exclaimed, who put such an ugly flag? Up there? Take it down quickly. It's so noisy, hey, get out of here. Lin Hai kicked Valpo's hairy hippopotamus to the horizon, taking Valpo with him. Lin Hai clapped his hands and said, the world is finally clean. Hey Chopper, who put that flag up? Lin Fan asked, pointing to the top of the castle. Chopper replied, Dr. Cyrillic put it up. Lin Hai continued to ask, why did he put that pirate flag up? And what does it mean, do you know? Following Lin Hai's guidance, Chopper couldn't help but think of the past between Dr. Cyrillic and himself. Dr. Cyrillic, there is nothing a man who bets his life on this skull and crossbones flag can't do. Chopper, one day you will go to the sea, and then you will understand how insignificant your troubles are. The island you were born on is only so small in the entire world. At this time, Luffy put his hand on Chopper's head and whispered, I don't know what happened to that flag, but you didn't put it up just for fun, right? Since that flag blocked a person's life, then we should respect it. Chopper suddenly trembled, as if he had been open to Ren and Du's second vein, and he vaguely understood something. Seeing this, Lin Hai added, making the impossible possible and persevering, this is the belief of your respected Dr. Cyrillic, right? Listening to what you just said, Dr. Cyrillic seems to have put his dream on you, so. Lin Hai shouted, Xiaoba, what are you waiting for? We are going to see. Oh. For a moment, the three of them hugged each other and cried bitterly. That was because all three of them were infected by Dr. Cyrillic's charm. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing a coquettish operation. The host will be rewarded with a record player. There is a song in it. Please check the host. It's just a record player. Lin Hai won't pay attention to that at this time. At this time, Nami, who was watching by the window, couldn't help crying and laughed. What a bunch of bagas, is this the charm of those idiots? Kaleha couldn't help but shed tears. She really didn't expect that she had not cured Chopper's disease for so many years, but now she was cured by the two brats in front of her. I don't know if Kaleha is sorry for Cyrillic's departure, or she is crying because Chopper's soul has been healed, or she is moved by something in life. However, she was overjoyed. When she thought that Chopper was about to leave, Kaleha suddenly said unhappily, why are you making such a fuss? The patient still needs to rest. At this time, Zoro and Usopp, led by former guards Captain Dalton, also arrived here, along with many residents. As soon as he saw Usopp and the others, Luffy immediately introduced, everyone, this is our new partner, Chopper. After Chopper and Usopp looked at each other for a few times, Usopp exclaimed, monster. Chopper was originally afraid of strangers, but when he was called a monster, he ran away instinctively, and then a game of chasing each other was staged in the entire castle. Ahem, Lin Hai naturally didn't participate. He, Lin Hai, is a mature person. Because Lin Hai heard Weiwei's words and couldn't help but pricked up his ears. Weiwei said, Zoran, why are you walking around in the forest with bare arms? I went for a swim in the ocean, and before I knew it, I swam over there, Zoro explained. Ahem. Lin Hai tried his best to hold back his smile and said, are you lost? Sauron suddenly became furious and said, "What did you say?" Lin Hai said loudly, "I said you were lost." Wei Wei said speechlessly, "You don't have to be so loud, right?" Lin Hai said funny, "He asked me to say it, I'm afraid he won't hear it." Zoro shouted angrily, "Try saying it again." "Zoran, you idiot! Stop, I'm going to chop you." Chapter 75 Genius Usopp. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Kaleha opened the weapons warehouse, and then ordered the residents of Drum Island to transport all the cannons inside to the outside of the castle, and sprinkle the cannonballs with the special powder that Dr. Cyriluk gave her when he died. Suddenly, the thunderous sound of cannons rang out on Segu Island, setting off a century-old fireworks for this era of pirates. No, Chopper, who had already arrived at the foot of the mountain, looked at the sky as Dr. Cyriluk said, with cherry blossoms blooming all over the Drum Island. Everyone was shocked by this scene. Luffy and Usopp said with bright eyes, "See, silk cake." Even the silent Sauron couldn't help but exclaim, "This is truly an incredible masterpiece." Sanji muttered, "Is this making the impossible possible?" Chopper choked with tears in his eyes, "Dr. Cyriluk, you did it, woo woo woo." Nami also exclaimed, "What beautiful cherry blossoms." After saying that, Nami couldn't help but glance at Lin Hai secretly. Lin Hai said disappointedly, "Isn't it just to sprinkle pink pollen on the cannonballs, and then shoot them into the sky and mix them into the snow? What's so great? How long will you continue to be amazed? It's almost dawn." Everyone's face turned dark. "Hey, don't slap me in the face." When everyone returned to the Mary, the sky was already bright. Luffy seemed to be tireless and said excitedly, "Everyone, welcome Chopper as our new partner. Shall we have a party?" "Okay." Everyone shouted, but Lin Hai sat in the corner and drew circles, because Lin Hai was beaten up by everyone just now. Chopper had just joined the Straw Hat Pirates and was still a little acquainted with life. When he didn't know what to do, Luffy and Usopp stuck their chopsticks into their nostrils and mouths and said, "Chopper, you come too, it's fun." Chopper was amused, but when he saw Lin Hai somewhere, he went over and pushed Lin Hai and said, "Lin Hai, what are you doing? Are you playing with everyone?" Lin Hai said very unhappily, "Are you going to stick chopsticks in your nose like them?" Usopp retorted, "Do you have anything more interesting?" Luffy echoed, "That's right, do you have anything more interesting?" Whispering sound. Depression goes as quickly as it comes. Now someone actually comes to compete with me. Lin Hai would not agree to this. As a result, Lin Hai changed his previous state and said, "Xiaoba, watch it." Lin Hai learned the dance posture of the werewolf in League of Legends, that is, with his hands at shoulder level, grabbing the air in one direction, then taking a few steps to the left, then a few steps to the right. Suddenly, a magical dance appeared in time and space that should not have appeared. Isn't that dance the dance of Jack Sun of Blue Star? Can anyone escape this magic? Chopper's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, "Lin Hai, teach me quickly." Luffy and Usopp felt that chopsticks were no longer fun, and they exclaimed, "We also need to learn." Wei Wei and Nami on the side looked at each other blankly for a while, then they both covered their stomachs and laughed so hard that they lay on the board of the boat. "Ha ha ha, Lin Hai, how did you learn to dance?" "It kills me, ha ha ha." "Ouch, I can't do it anymore, can you guys stop jumping?" "Ha ha ha." Sanji and Zoro on the side also kept laughing. How could Lin Hai let Sauron go? That guy had just beaten him the hardest Lin Hai had ever beaten in order to avenge himself for calling him a road idiot. Ever since, Lin Hai forcefully pulled Zoro over. Zoro exclaimed, "Let me go quickly, beat me to death, I won't jump." "Oh, help." After the banquet, it was time to rest. After all, in this ship, at least neither Lin Hai nor Luffy slept. At this time, on the deck, Usopp and Chopper were chatting. Usopp said, "Chopper, guess what monster I encountered back then?" Chopper shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. Usopp said, "At that time, our ship encountered a monster that was several kilometers high and several kilometers wide. Lin Hai and Luffy encountered it. They were so frightened that they both called me to save them." Chopper exclaimed, really? Usopp. What happened next? Usopp raised his head and looked into the distance, and then said, then I took out a 40-meter-long sword, used my special skill, shouted, Demacia, and made a shocking blow, and then the huge monster was split into two by me. At this time, Luffy, who had just woken up and was looking for something to eat, passed by and heard Usopp's words. His eyes suddenly lit up and he ran over to Chopper and exclaimed, Sakuchi, Usopp, you are so powerful. Sanji on the side was really speechless. Lin Hai, who was sleeping inside, was speechless. He felt that he had not slept long before he was woken up by the noise outside. Who could have guessed that Usopp was so awesome? And Luffy is even more awesome, why does he admire him at the same time? Lin Hai yawned, walked out of the room with dull eyes, and asked Nami next to him, Nami, how long does it take to get to Alabasta? Nami replied, almost 10 days. What? Lin Hai woke up instantly. Does it take so long? Nami rolled her eyes and said, didn't I make it clear just now? Lin Hai waved his hand and said, I heard clearly, what's wrong with Wei Wei? That I saw Wei Wei sitting there looking worried, and Nami had no choice but to spread her hands. Seeing Wei Wei's sore look, Lin Hai couldn't help but walk to her side and said, Wei Wei, what are you doing? Wei Wei explained, the situation in Alabasta is getting more and more critical. I'm just worried about the people there. I'm sorry that it has affected you. Lin Hai waved his hand and said, you said you are the only princess in Alabasta, can you really be a good princess? Looking at you now, I really doubt you. Nami heard Lin Hai's words and wanted to step forward to remind Lin Hai, but was stopped by Lin Hai. Sanji on the other side remained silent, vaguely feeling that Lin Hai had something to say. At this time, Wei Wei looked at Lin Hai with a little anger and said, am I wrong to worry about my citizens? Lin Hai spread his hands helplessly, if you want to inherit the position of the kingdom of Alabasta in the future, there is definitely something wrong with your current thinking. Wei Wei asked. What's the problem? Lin Hai explained, what is about to break out is a war involving millions of people. You don't think about the overall strategy and how to resolve this war, but you are worrying about which people will be injured. Why don't you say there is something wrong with your thinking? Wei Wei said angrily, then tell me, where is the problem with my thinking? Lin Hai slapped his head, hadn't the question already been said? This woman is really difficult to communicate with. Lin Hai had no choice but to change his mind and said, the main conflict in your matter this time is that the king secretly used dancing powder, right? Seeing Wei Wei nodding, Lin Hai said, and the mastermind behind this incident is Crocodile, right? Wei Wei nodded again, and Lin Hai continued, what you are thinking about now is how to use us to defeat Crocodile, and then how to use us to resolve the misunderstanding between the king's army and the rebels. This is what you should consider. Instead of worrying about a war happening here or there, and how many people died there, as the decision-maker of a kingdom, you are still entangled in your personal life and death. Can you really be the only princess of a country? Wake up you. After hearing what Lin Hai said, Wei Wei was thunderous, but how could that guy Lin Hai allow herself to take advantage of them? Seeing Wei Wei's embarrassment, Lin Hai said with a smile, what's wrong with using us? As a decision-maker, you must consider your own people. This is necessary and something you should learn from, but I can tell you that we are not looking for Crocodile for you. We are looking for him to compensate for mental damages, lost wages, intimidation fees, shipping fees, etc., so you don't have to be grateful. After saying that, Lin Hai turned to look at Nami. He originally wanted to ask if they would mind. After all, the purposes of both parties were different, but the result was what both parties wanted. Now, well, no need to ask. Because Nami's eyes were all about money at this time, and she was still muttering, it doesn't matter what you use, I'm going to make a fortune this time. Make a fortune, Lin Hai, you are really a genius. Next to Nami, Sanji already had red eyes and muttered, Vivia-san, use me as much as you like, I am willing to do anything for you. Sauron opened his eyes with difficulty and said boring, then closed his eyes again. Silk cake. Lin Hai, your brain is really useful. Are you a genius? After hearing Lin Hai's words, Luffy, Usopp and Chopper on the side suddenly exclaimed again with their eyes shining brightly. Seeing them like this, Lin Hai got angry and said, "You bastards, can you please be quiet for me? Let me have a good sleep. You keep making noises, you really think I'm that pig from Sauron? Crap, here we go again." Before he finished speaking, Lin Hai was beaten again. "I just woke up and suddenly saw so many flowers, so I posted tomorrow's chapter first." Chapter 76, A Man Who Makes Himself Awkward. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A few days later, I woke up feeling refreshed. Listening to the faint sound of seagulls outside the boat made the surrounding environment quieter. Only then did Lin Hai remember the system's rewards, and he hadn't seen the system panel for a long time. Thinking of this, Lin Hai couldn't help browsing his system panel. If there are friends who don't like writing about this panel, I will try to write as little as possible in the future. It is too time-consuming and I will be criticized. Coquettish system, host, Lin Hai, physique, level 7, top level 10, seeing and hearing domineering, level 2. Armed color domineering, level 2. Overlord color domineering, level 3, freely control and shock the target. The effect is significant, mainly determined by the host's aura, skill 1.1. Establish a space field, space swap, use it skillfully. As long as the physical strength is there and the speed is fast enough, the host will be invincible. Space cutting, the cutting effect is determined by the host's domineering power. Point 2. One knife flow, skill 2.1. Space slash, the high-level use of space fruit requires Gao Feng in the summoned form to use it. Point 2. Space barrier, no limit, depends on the proficiency of the host, existing items. Point 1. Space backpack, only the host can come and go freely, making it the best place to escape. 2. Dugu 9 swords, reference. Point 3. Basic swordsmanship, not viewed yet, difficult things in the world must be done easily. The host is not like that. It is difficult first and then easy to be different. 4. Broadcaster, already have songs, chasing the coquettish year. Point 5. TT, ham sausage, dinosaur meat, wig, cape, hair dryer, comb, mirror, system store, open, coquettish coin, 6666. After reading the panel of the coquettish system, Lin Hai fell silent. What the hell is that year of chasing coquettish? And that TT, has Lin Hai bought it? Is he, Lin Hai, that kind of person? Phew, what a coquettish system, it's clearly an unfair system. When Lin Hai opened the basic swordsmanship, he was immediately surprised. Is that a basic swordsmanship? That is clearly Tai Chi swordsmanship. It talks about the coordination of the body and swordsmanship. One move can resolve various attacks from different directions. Isn't this an upgraded version of Dugu 9 swords? Use slow to fight fast, strike later or strike first, as long as you have enough eyesight, just like Hawkeye used a knife to easily block Sauron's killer blow. Silk Cake 1. Lin Hai quickly put the notebook together and threw it into the system. Study now. Like a bird egg, first listen to a song to express your happy mood. Ahem, the opening music of the Year of the Coquettish is not only good to listen to, but also very passionate. Why haven't you felt it before? While Lin Hai was intoxicated, another noise came from the deck outside the ship. Lin Hai felt a strange breath. What were they? It turned out to be that Mr. 2, but Lin Hai didn't want to pay attention to them, but browsed the system store, inventory, Lautan pickled cabbage, 7, everyone enjoys silky smoothness, 45, Daliwan, 250, ham sausage, books column, the Maharam, 37, that I have a date with spring, 38, time travel pirates, I have a coquettish system, 998, stunt column, that I have a sword, 100 million, snowflake Excalibur, 100 million, point 6 forms, 60, note, special skills cannot be used by others, special books cannot be read by others, special items cannot be used by others. As soon as Lin Hai saw the stunt column, he quickly closed the system panel. Don't ask, I just can't afford it, but I seem to have discovered something extraordinary just now, the book's there. So why are those things from time travel pirates so expensive? What bastard writes something so expensive? He, Lin Hai, was determined not to buy it. No matter how good it looks, I won't buy it. As for that plum blossom, you can have this one. Lin Hai likes May the most. Just when Lin Hai was about to buy the Jean Ping May, someone knocked on the door. Nami outside the door said, "Are you a pig? How long have you been sleeping? Do you still want to eat?" Lin Hai stood up quickly and said, "Wait a minute, I'll be right back." At the dinner table, Lin Hai asked in confusion, "What are you doing with the white cloth on your arms?" Wei Wei explained, "We just met Mr. Tu from Baroque Works." Luffy smiled and said, "He's so interesting. No matter who he is, he can become like that." Nami nodded and said, "So we tied white cloth on our hands as marks to prevent him from pretending to be us." Usopp echoed, "Lin Hai, can you also make a mark?" Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, "Do I need to mark it? If any of you mistakes me, you deserve it." Sanji said with a smile, "I don't think Lin Hai needs any markings at all. He deserves a beating so much that we can recognize him without having to identify him." Lin Hai rolled his eyes at Sanji and exclaimed, "Are you rich?" "So rich?" Chopper smiled and said, "Because while you were sleeping, Luffy shot a really big bird." Lin Hai asked doubtfully, "Chopper, aren't you a reindeer? Don't reindeer eat grass?" "Are you sure you are a reindeer?" Xiaoba immediately ran away. "Lin Hai, you bastard," Zoro advised, "Chopper, eat quickly, or your things will be snatched away by Luffy." Chopper immediately exclaimed, "Luffy, you." Usopp also exclaimed, "Luffy, you robbed me again." The whole meal was finished in such a noisy environment. After finishing lunch, Lin Hai couldn't help but become interested. "Everyone, how about I sing a song for everyone?" "Really?" Luffy's eyes lit up as he said, "Come and sing and listen." Others expressed doubts. Could Lin Hai sing? Lin Hai waved his hand and said, "You guys wait a minute, I'll dress up first. You will definitely like it then." After saying that, Lin Hai quickly ran into the room and began to imitate the slutty look of the 1990s before time travel. In one word, it will drive you crazy. Fortunately, Lin Hai's hair was lush and long enough. The characteristic 4 to 6 part hairstyle of the 1990s was quickly completed by Lin Hai. Then he wore long black pants, a belt, and the lower end of the white shirt was tucked into the pants, exposing the belt. Come on, then put on a low-key color coat. The sword-shaped eyes are between the brows, the nose is like a hanging gallbladder, the face is like a crown jade, and the body is slender. Lin Hai realized that he was going to be stunned by his handsomeness. Soon, Lin Hai secretly hid the radio player in his coat, and then appeared not far from everyone. Lin Hai used his spatial ability to press the button of the radio player, regardless of language. In an instant, a passionate rhythm sounded, and a vibrant tune was like a spring breeze blowing in the face, shocking everyone on the boat. The powerful and rhythmic rock music sounded, and at the same time, Lin Hai danced to the music. Lip singing, he Lin Haishing, it's not like he hasn't heard that song before, so just open your mouth and keep silent. As for posing, Lin Hai is not weaker than others in his life. At this time, even Zoro, who was very calm, was no longer calm. Following Lin Hai's rhythm, his body began to beat involuntarily and uncontrollably. Lyrics: carrying the wind on your shoulders, stepping on the soil under your feet. A word in my heart, don't admit defeat. I write about youth with a fiery heart. No matter how cold this world is, just let the heavy rain hit my back. Even if I am lonely, then the night it will take longer. Who can understand me? Who cares about me? A boy's dream, chase, the coldest north wind in the sky, looking for the highest mountain in the world. Handsome, so handsome. Everyone said in unison, Nami, "Ah Lin Hai, you are the most handsome I have ever seen." Wei Wei, "Ah, Lin Hai, you are so handsome." Sanji exclaimed, "I will also learn to dress like this in the future." Luffy, Usopp and Chopper were already shouting and jumping excitedly. However, Lin Hai, who was beating to the beat of the music, forgot that the pockets of his coat were not deep, but his movements were too big. After a spin, the radio player in his pocket fell out. The radio rolled in front of everyone, and it was still playing songs happily. For a moment, Lin Hai stared at everyone. Ahem, the posture just now was so pretentious, now it's so awkward. How cool it was just now, how depressing it is now. At this moment, Lin Hai wanted to smash this radio. Chapter 77 Jean Ping Mei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Mary is still on its way to Alabasta. Oh, Silk Cake 1. Goo, it turns out that Pan Lian Lian and Ximonman are like this. You two idiots, keep your voices down. In the corner of the ship, Lin Hai, Usopp and Sanji were looking at the books Lin Hai bought from Feng Sa System. Usopp and Sanji looked at it in amazement, but Lin Hai was okay. After all, he had heard the story of Amahira May before, right? As for the others, Chopper was lying in one place, intoxicated by the breeze of Zoro swinging several kilograms of barbells there. Nami and Weiwei stood at the railing on the second floor of the ship and wondered what Lin Hai and the others were exclaiming. Weiwei said, I should thank Lin Hai for reminding me this time, otherwise, I would really be, as he said, not a qualified princess. That while Nami was happy, she secretly glanced at Lin Hai, who was acting like an idiot, and then rolled her eyes and said, he only knows how to talk. By the way, you should be in a much better mood now, right? Yes. Weiwei replied, after I have figured out some things and have a clear goal, I feel that I am no longer as panicked as before. I should be lucky to meet you. Nami smiled and said, why are you still telling us all this? By the way, what are they doing? What is so interesting? How about we go over and take a look? Weiwei glanced at Lin Hai in the distance. For some reason, her cheeks turned red, but she still nodded and said, then let's go over and have a look. Anyway, the route will take a while, so it's quite boring. When Weiwei and Nami were chatting, Luffy's character couldn't sit still and read a book. After playing in one place for a while, he felt bored and ran to Lin Hai and the others again to play with them. Luffy said boredly, stop reading and play with me. It's so boring. Usopp pushed Luffy away and muttered, Luffy, go play by yourself and don't disturb me reading. Seeing that Usopp was ignoring him, Luffy pulled Sanji's pants and said, Sanji, I'm hungry, please make me some food. Sanji quickly replied, please be patient a little longer, I'm fascinated by it. Luffy didn't care, just pulled Sanji's pants and said, no, I just want to eat now. Sanji said speechlessly, didn't you just eat it just now? As soon as he finished speaking, Luffy was too strong and pulled down Sanji's pants. He was immediately embarrassed. Ah! Weiwei and Nami turned around quickly. Nami said speechlessly, what are you doing? Usopp instinctively replied, stop talking, we are reading a book. Lin Hai reacted and quickly put the precious books into the system. Sanji and Usopp said unhappily, Lin Hai. At this time, Lin Hai had already stood up and said, it's nothing, we are playing a small game. Weiwei didn't believe it, Nami and I just saw you reading books. Nami crossed her arms and questioned, are you hiding good things, or are you doing something we don't know about? Luffy smiled and said, I know, they are reading a book called Amahira May. Ah! Luffy! Usopp and Sanji exclaimed. Lin Hai quickly covered their mouths, and then said with a smile, it's nothing, we were actually watching Immortal Plum just now. After saying that, Lin Hai gave Luffy a kick, stuffed a chicken leg into Luffy, and then turned to explain to the two women, the book mainly tells the story of small fish and cats. We men like to read it, but you ladies don't like it. With that said, Lin Hai gave Usopp and Sanji another look. These two idiots were so surprised. Do Nami and Weiwei know what Immediate Plum is about? If they were so surprised, didn't they just tell them clearly that they were doing something ulterior? Lin Hai quickly changed the subject and said, oh, by the way, you two look really good today. How long will it take to get to Alabasta? I've been drifting at sea for so long, I'm almost getting irritable. Nami rolled her eyes and said, don't change the subject, Sanji, is what Lin Hai said true? Sanji said very tangledly, yes, what Lin Hai said is true. Sanji is hopeless. At this time, Nami stretched out her hand and said, "Give us the book to read. Maybe we will like to read it, right Wei Wei? We are also interested in the story of the little fish and the cat." Wei Wei smiled awkwardly. "Yes," Lin Hai said shamelessly, "no. But I have skin care products for you. You can beautify your skin and stay young forever. Eternal youth." Everyone shouted. Luffy and Usopp's eyes lit up and they said, "Lin Hai, give us some too." Lin Hai slapped his forehead with one hand and said speechlessly, "Those are cosmetics used by women, you are using them for no good purpose." Usopp refused. "Don't you stay young forever?" Lin Hai handed Debeo to Nami and Wei Wei, and then said, "Can't I brag? If I don't brag, how can people think that my stuff is so good? What a stupid human being. What did you say?" "I said you were stupid." Ahem, they were like brothers just now, but now they have a disagreement and are fighting together again. After Lin Hai, Usopp and Sanji stopped what they were doing, Luffy stood up in confusion and said, "I'm just here to advise you not to fight. Why are you all here to fight me?" The three of them looked at each other. Why was the one who broke up the fight beaten? The three of them were silent. Finally, I came to the conclusion that just beating Luffy is the right thing to do. At this time, Sanji clenched his hands and said, "Lin Hai, can you lend me your book for one night? At most, I won't give you bad food in the future." "Listen, is this human talk?" Lin Hai turned around and left, but Sanji was not that thick-skinned. Lin Hai could only give it to him and said, "Sanji, this is the only book I treasure. If you get it dirty, or if it's gone, I'll cut your hair." Sanji said in surprise, "I promise to return it to you completely tomorrow." Usopp said anxiously, "What about me?" "What about me?" Lin Hai said depressedly, "Can I show you the head office the day after tomorrow?" Luffy stuck his head out and said, "I want to see it too." The three of them kicked him away and showed him what a fool he was. Chapter 78 Ace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If Sanji's words are to be believed, then there really is a ghost. No, the precious book Lin Hai gave him was confiscated by Nami before it was warm in Sanji's hands. As night fell, in Nami's room, Nami and Wei Wei were watching the story of the cat and the fish that Lin Hai told during the day. Wei Wei is a princess of a country, how have I ever seen anything like this? Nami on the other side is almost the same. For a moment, the two women looked at the contents of the book with red faces. After a while, Nami secretly spat and muttered, "This stinking Lin Hai is so abominable." That's what they were looking at today. What a little fish and cat, bah. Wei Wei, who was on the side, felt that her face was about to burn, so she patted her cheek and said, "Nami, let's not watch it anymore, right? I really didn't expect that there are people like Zaimanman in this world. Man, it's really," Nami said speechlessly, "Pan Lien Lien is not much better." As soon as she finished speaking, Nami remembered that day when she and Lin Hai accidentally met. Thinking of this, Nami found that her cheeks turned redder, because Nami found that she missed that feeling. However, Nami would not let Wei Wei see any clues. Instead, she closed the book and threw it under the bedside, and then talked about her daughter's family together. And what about Lin Hai? Tonight, Lin Hai will watch the ship instead of Sauron. After all, you can't always let Sauron keep watch on a ship, right? Hearing Luffy and the others snoring and talking in their sleep from the room, Lin Hai was really speechless. Fortunately, he didn't sleep with them in the first place. Who could withstand this? Looking at the sparse stars, Lin Hai couldn't help but recall his past. "It has been more than a year since I came to this world inexplicably. Before going to sea, I always thought that I was the protagonist of this era, the darling of God, and everyone around me would revolve around me." At the same time, Lin Hai also wants to be a Neptune. This is the mentality that a time-traveling protagonist should have, isn't it? It's fine now. I just took the first step and was criticized. When did Lin Hai become an irresponsible man? If you have a relationship with someone, do you want to marry her and take care of her for the rest of your life? Then you have to ask people if they are willing. It's so self-indulgent. Who is Nami? Nami dreams of drawing a map of the world with her own hands. She is an independent individual. She has her own thoughts and judgments, and she also has needs, but what she cares more about is freedom. Forget it, if they want to argue, let them. Lin Hai should just be a prodigal son. This is just a cool novel, not a moral model, nor a kimchi idol drama. Those who are underage, love to bully others, are looking for trouble, and those who love confrontation, please stay away. The next day, after a long voyage, the Meli finally docked. This was just a supply point. There was still a long way to go to Alabasta, across the desert. Why is the place along the coast a desert? Everyone asks this question, but the author doesn't understand. As soon as the ship docked, Luffy shouted that he was going to eat. Lin Hai said with a smile, "Luffy, Zoro, how about I treat you to a big dinner? After all, I'm a little scared of eating meat on the ship." Luffy's eyes lit up and he said, "Really?" Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, "With your IQ, can I deceive you?" After saying that, Lin Hai turned to ask Usopp and Sanji. Sanji replied, "I won't go. I'll go buy some ingredients with Chopper." Usopp said, "I'm going to buy some weapons and also make a weapon for Nami." Lin Hai sighed, "Usopp, you are really a genius. Remember to ask Nami for more money so that the weapons can be made better." Just when Usopp was about to brag, Lin Hai quickly ran to Nami and said, "Nami, can you give me some money to eat?" The two women looked at Lin Hai, their cheeks flushed inexplicably, but Nami still gave Lin Hai 250 belly. Facing Lin Hai's doubtful eyes, Nami couldn't help but ask, "Is it too much?" "Then forget it." "Ahem." Lin Hai said speechlessly, "You are so generous." Nami rolled her eyes and said, "Do you still want it?" "Yes, of course." Lin Hai was really depressed. What could he do with 250 Baileys? "Do you want to eat white rice in the store? Then ask the store owner if there are any leftovers and give them a dozen." But in the end, Lin Hai still took 250 Baileys to take Zoro and Luffy to a feast. On the way, Zoro said with great interest, "Lin Hai, since you want to treat us to a big dinner, Nami must have given you a lot of money, right?" Luffy's eyes lit up and he said, "I want to eat a lot of meat, hee. Lin Hai said speechlessly, "Luffy, stop your saliva." After saying that, Lin Hai turned to Zoro and said, "Nami gave me a lot of money, at least it's enough for one meal." Of course it's enough. In future generations, if you cook at home, a bowl of white rice and a bowl of egg soup, excluding rice money, 30 yuan can cover nearly a month's food expenses. Don't talk anymore. If you talk too much, you'll be in tears. Zoro smiled and said, "Nami is quite nice to you." "Thank you. I'll have a drink later." For some reason, Lin Hai just wanted to take off his slippers and throw them on Zoro's head. Doesn't Zoro know about Nami's virtues? But as soon as he arrived near the hotel, Lin Hai felt a strong aura. Who was in there? When Sauron saw Lin Hai stopped, he asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" Lin Hai shook his head and said, "Nothing, let's go eat first." No need for Lin Hai to say anything, Luffy had already grabbed a seat and was eating noisily there. But there was a man lying on the bar not far away, with a conspicuous white beard logo engraved on his back. Lin Hai quickly guessed who he was. Isn't that the second captain of the Yonko Whitebeard's ship, Padoka's D. Ace? At the same time, Ace is also a sworn brother who grew up with Luffy. At this time, because Ace suddenly fell asleep, everyone thought he had accidentally eaten some kind of toxin in the desert. After some fun, Luffy recognized Ace. Luffy looked at the figure sitting on the bar and said in surprise, "Ace." Ace turned around and saw Luffy and said in surprise, "Luffy." But the next scene disappointed Lin Hai. There was no scene of Kong and Ziwei running in the wind and then embracing each other. Chapter 79 Smoker is drunk. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon, Lin Hai invited Ace to their table to share the table together. Ace exclaimed, "Luffy, is he really your brother?" Luffy replied, "Yes, Lin Hai was brought back by Grandpa after you went to sea." Ace sighed, "That's right. So, Lin Hai is also our brother." Lin Hai nodded and said, do you still need to ask? So if you want to call me brother, shout quickly. Ace refused. Why? You are the last one to come, you should be the younger brother. Lin Hai said angrily. What did you say? Believe it or not, I'll beat you until you can't find your way. Oh. Ace playfully said, then let's compete. Whoever wins will be the brother. Lin Hai nodded and said, this is a good idea. Zoro said speechlessly, brothers should be distinguished by age, shouldn't they? Lin Hai nodded and said, I am 20 this year. Ace replied, I'm 22, okay. Lin Hai was helpless, because he was only born in December, and there was a high probability that Ace was older than him, so he had no choice but to say, then let's compete, but not now, let's eat first. At the right time, Ace turned to Luffy, have you received the message from me on Drum Island? Seeing that Luffy was confused, Ace said nonchalantly, forget it, I've seen you now anyway. By the way. Luffy asked curiously, why are you here? Ace replied casually, I'm looking for a guy who committed trouble on my ship. Oh, by the way, Luffy, I am now the second captain of the Whitebeard Pirates. Do you want to join the Whitebeard Pirates too? Luffy shook his head and said, no. Ha ha ha. Ace smiled and said, don't worry, I'm just asking anyway. After saying that, Ace turned to look at Lin Hai and couldn't help but ask, did you go to sea with Luffy in Windmill Village? Lin Hai nodded and said, of course, if I didn't go sailing with Luffy, you wouldn't know the old man Garp's fist, but I haven't felt that feeling for a long time. It's quite nostalgic. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Hai, Ace and Luffy instinctively shrank their bodies. The pain was, Zoro on the side asked curiously, Luffy, are your grandfather's fists that scary? Are the expressions of the three of you so scary, that when Luffy thought of his grandfather's fist, the food in front of him suddenly stopped tasting good? Ace could only reply awkwardly, it's okay. Only then did Zoro come to his senses and asked, the Garp you're talking about, could it be the naval hero Iron Fist Garp who forced the Pirate King into a desperate situation? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, you guessed it right, he is the old man who always likes to hit people on the head. His fists are too hard. I doubt that old man Garp not only has top-level arm domineering power, but also has the ability to foresee the future. Ace asked in confusion, how do you say this? Lin Hai explained, didn't you realize that when old man Garp hit us with his fist, we couldn't avoid it at all? See Cake 1. Luffy's eyes lit up as he said, when can I reach that level? Lin Hai and Ace looked at each other. Is this Straw Hat bastard capable of forgetting things so quickly? Before Lin Hai and the others could continue chatting, someone not far away was already looking for trouble. Who is that person if not Smoker? At this time, Smoker was on the side and said in a low tone, I didn't expect the second captain on Whitebeard's ship to have such a relationship with the Straw Hat Pirates. After saying that, Smoker took out the cross fingers on his back and pointed at Lin Hai and said, and you bastard, you really made it easy for me to find you all the way. You pirates, just be obedient and catch them. Luffy refused, no, I want to go to the Grand Line, circle the world, and then become the Pirate King. Ace stood up and said, Navy, if you can catch us, then. Lin Hai on the side was really speechless. He quickly pushed Ace back to his seat and said, if you have something to say, please say it. Don't do anything. After saying that, Lin Hai turned to Smoker and said, I'm telling you, Brother Smoker, it's not easy for the owner to run this small shop. If you break other people's things, it will not only affect the reputation of the other people's store, but also those damaged items. Who will accompany me? Smoker was a little confused by what Lin Hai said. At this time, Lin Hai pulled Smoker to his seat and said, aren't you a messenger of justice? Isn't it your duty to protect the safety of people's property and maintain social stability? So, isn't it your duty? Put the fighting aside for now, I'll treat you to dinner. Seeing that Smoker still had a straight face, Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, by the way, why isn't that beautiful woman next to you here? I really miss her. Smoker then gained an expression and asked, what do you want to do? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, we are all from the East China Sea, right? that everyone looked at Lin Hai, Smoker asked, so what? Lin Hai raised his head and said affectionately, haven't you heard of a proverb? When you meet an old friend in a foreign country, you forget about it. In short, when fellow villagers meet fellow villagers, they call each other woof woof. Calling each other woof woof. Smoker said angrily, what did you say? Lin Hai said awkwardly, I made a mistake. It's a fellow villager who bursts into tears when he meets a fellow villager, so we should cherish our fate. So waiter, boss, here's a dozen drinks, I want to entertain the fellow villager today. Smolka was really speechless. After listening to Lin Hai's words, Smolka investigated and found that Lin Hai was really different from other pirates. He just beat up the celestial dragons, but did not do any evil. Now that this guy is so enthusiastic, Smolka is confused again. Got it. At this time, Lin Hai patted Luffy on the head and said speechlessly, are you polite? We have guests. Eat. Can't you eat later? Luffy replied inarticulately, are you hungry? Lin Hai slapped his forehead and shouted, boss, serve another table of good food. Okay. Of course, the Bailey in Lin Hai is more than enough to pay for the food on the table, and asking Nami for money is because Lin Hai wants to prove to Nami that he, Lin Hai, really has no money. Get it? Big guys with wives. Ace and Sauron on the side of the table looked at Lin Hai like this, and their eyes twitched. Hey, is it really okay to eat with a naval colonel? Smoka on the side was so confused by Lin Hai's enthusiasm that he didn't know what to do, so he drank with Lin Hai in a daze. As the saying goes, wine strengthens one's courage. After a glass of wine, everything changes. Smolka said confusedly, what kind of wine do you have? It tastes good, but is it too strong? Ace also echoed, I have drunk so many wines, and yours is the first time I drank it. It is also the most enjoyable. Luffy said drowsily, I can drink again. Sauron said with unfinished content, Lin Hai, your wine is the most exciting one I have ever drunk. Can you not be energetic? That wine came from Urguotu in China. After buying a few bottles from the system, Lin Hai became a member of the Moonlight Clan again. At this time, Lin Hai said with a smile, a bottle of Urguotu, I'll drink it up. To be successful in life, you must have all the joy, drink it and the world will spin. You just need to be satisfied and have fun. Can you still drink it? You scumbags here, Smoker said confusedly, you are actually quite good, but you are a pirate and I am a navy, so I will still catch you. Hey, this is a fall. Chapter 80 Zoro, where are you going? You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Dusky and Smoker arrived here, Smoker took the first step, so that Dashiki kept finding him. When Dasky arrived at the hotel where Lin Hai and the others were staying, what caught his eye was Smoker lying on the table, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. If Tashi guessed it right, the Straw Hats are pirates, right? Who are pirates? Those are a group of wicked, cruel and merciless people. At this time, Dasky angrily drew his sword and pointed it at Lin Hai and the others, and said angrily, what did you do to Colonel Smog, pirates? Lin Hai glanced at Smoker, Luffy, and Ace who were lying down, and said with a smile, what did I do to him? I invited him to dinner. Dasky asked, then why is he lying there motionless? Lin Hai said speechlessly, can you put your knife away? He is just drunk. If you don't believe it, check his breath yourself. Seeing Daseki's cautious look, Lin Hai rolled his eyes and went to pay the restaurant owner. When Lin Hai came back, Sauron asked, what should we do now? Lin Hai said with a smile, what else can we do? Bring them back to the ship. For a moment, Zoro was carrying Ace, and Lin Hai was carrying Luffy. Lin Hai took advantage of the situation and took a cigar from Smoker's collar, and then lit it. At this time, Dasky on the side said, well, one of you will help me take Colonel Smog out. Ahem, Smoker is tall and powerful, but she, Dasky, is a weak woman. How can she carry Smoker on her back? Lin Hai said with a smile, won't you let him rest at the hotel owner's place? Don't worry, I'll pay for it. Dasky shook his head and said, no need. After finishing speaking, Dasky looked up at Lin Hai and said, I don't know why Colonel Smogger would eat and drink with you, but we will not give up arresting you. It's best not to let us encounter you next time. Well. That's right, Lin Hai kissed Dasky. Looking at Dasky whose cheeks were red, Lin Hai raised his eyebrows and said, You are very noisy, so I can only do this to block your mouth, right? Dasky pointed at Lin Hai with a red face and said, You. Lin Hai turned around, waved his hands and smiled, Dasky, see you next time, I will miss you. Zoro on the side raised his eyebrows, Lin Hai, this guy is really speechless. Who is not good to kiss the Navy. The two people immediately attracted the attention of the roadside on the street. Because of their behavior, no one in this town had ever seen it before. At the right time, Lin Hai faintly noticed something was wrong and quickly turned his head to look behind him. Lin Hai asked in confusion, Zolong, where are you going? Zoro then stopped, turned around and replied, Aren't we going back to the ship? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, The direction you are in is the place where you just ate. Are you drunk? Sauron blushed, followed behind Lin Hai, and replied, That little wine won't make me drunk. Ahem. Lin Hai said, Since you are not drunk, it means. Speaking of Zoro, after coming out of the small garden, many people have changed. Have you noticed? Zoro, what exactly do you want to say? Lin Hai said softly, Have you noticed that your getting lost has become more and more serious after coming out of the small garden? Zoro said angrily, You bastard. Lin Hai said depressedly, I'm not laughing at you. Think about it for yourself. We were walking straight forward, but why did you walk back inexplicably? Well, when the time comes, go and ask Chopper what's going on. For a moment, Sauron's face turned red and he had nothing to say, while Lin Hai tried his best to hold back his smile and said, How can you become the world's best swordsman if you don't even dare to face your own weaknesses? Zoro retorted, You bastard, don't say yes to me like you're preaching. Lin Hai wondered, Why not? I'm your brother. Close, Time. When they returned to the boat, Lin Hai was really helpless. He turned to Sauron and said, What are you thinking about all day long? It's just a straight road. How many times have you gone astray? Zoro didn't know what was going on, he obviously walked straight. Why did it go astray without realizing it? But we can't let everyone know about such a smelly thing. Thinking of this, Zoro quickly changed the subject and said, What should Luffy and Ace do? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, Go back to the ship first. If they all come back, we will set sail immediately. Zoro asked doubtfully, In such a hurry? Lin Hai said with a smile, That Smog's temper is as stubborn as a cow. When he wakes up, he will definitely come to chase us again. Zoro exclaimed, So you just got him drunk? Lin Hai raised his eyebrows and said, When he woke up, he found that a pirate invited him to dinner, and he actually ate it. What do you think he would think? Sauron said speechlessly, You really haven't changed at all, you're so funny. At this time, Wei Wei and Nami heard the noise outside, came out of the room, and saw Lin Hai and Sauron carrying one person each. Nami asked, What are you doing? Ahem. Lin Hai replied, The one Zoro was carrying was named Ace, and he was Luffy's brother. The two of them were thirsty and drank other people's wine as water, so they got drunk, our Sanji and the others back. Let's set sail quickly, Luffy and the others haven't paid for the wine they drank secretly. Zoro on the other side was confused. Was he drunk? Lin Hai was still drunk. How come what you said is different from what you think? As soon as she heard that someone was coming to ask for a debt, Nami quickly said, They all come back, let's set sail quickly. The other side, after the drunken smoker woke up, he thought again about the dinner and drinking incident between himself and Lin Hai, and then slapped his forehead. Now he was in trouble. Because of this bastard Lin Hai, Smog felt that he was not guaranteed for the rest of the year. As a Navy man, smoker, how could he have dinner with a pirate? As a result, not only did they chat so intimately, but they also couldn't drink as much as they did. Doesn't this mean that the Navy is not as good as the pirates? At this time, Dasky came in with sober soup. After seeing Smoker waking up, he couldn't help but ask, "Colonel Smoker, how do you feel?" Smoker rubbed his temples and replied, "My head hurts a little." "Where is this?" Dasky replied, "This is the place where the hotel owner gives us a rest." "You just..." Smoker said speechlessly, "If you have anything to say, just say it." Dusky glanced at Smoker secretly and asked weakly, "Did you really eat with the straw hats just now?" This. Smoker was really speechless, and he himself felt a little embarrassed. After a moment of silence in the room, Smoker said, "Desai-chi, give me the phone number to contact General Aoki Pheasant." Dasky exclaimed, "You?" Smoker said helplessly, "I think the straw hats are a little different from other pirates, especially a certain bastard. I really couldn't make a choice, so I had to ask General Akiji for advice and let him make the decision."